The council chamber was silent as Captain Juan finished his report. The massive room floated in space at the center of the galaxy, its crystal walls reflecting the light of 1,000,000 stars. Around the circular table sat representatives of the 12 founding species of the consortium, each one struggling to understand what they had just heard. Grand Vorthak Kess was the first to speak. His ancient scales had turned silver with age and his voice carried the weight of centuries. Captain Juan, please repeat the human response to our integration offer. They said no, Grand Vorthak. Ambassador Day declined our invitation and stated that Earth would remain independent. The Zalani Prime crystal soul pulsed with confused energy, its massive form taking up an entire section of the chamber. When it spoke, its voice was like the sound of breaking glass. This is impossible. No species has ever refused integration. The concept does not exist in our databases. Counselor Vex of the Noimari floated in his gas-filled chamber, his misty form swirling with agitation. Perhaps there was a translation error. Maybe the humans did not understand our offer? No, Juan replied. Ambassador Day spoke our language perfectly. He understood exactly what we were offering, and he understood what refusal meant. They have been monitoring our communications for decades. They know everything about the consortium. A low rumble came from the Krex representative, War Leader Thex. His massive insect form clicked its mandibles together in agitation. Then they are fools. A primitive species cannot survive alone in the galaxy. They will face raiders, pirates, and worse. They need our protection. They said they would take their chances, Juan reported. Grand Vorthak Kess stood slowly, his imposing figure casting long shadows across the chamber. For 3,000 years, he had overseen the peaceful expansion of consortium space. Every species had been grateful to join their great civilization. This was the first real challenge to their authority and living memory. Honored counselors, Kess began, we face an unprecedented situation. For 3 millennia, the consortium has brought order and peace to the galaxy. Every species has found their proper place in our great civilization. But now we have encountered beings who refuse this gift. The prime crystal soul pulsed brighter. What are the implications if we allow this refusal to stand? Chaos, replied Counselor Vex immediately. If one species can refuse integration, others might follow. The entire foundation of our civilization would crumble. War Leader Thex's forearm slammed against the table. Then we must not allow it to stand. These humans must be brought into compliance, but how? Asked the Therian representative, her crystal voice tinkling like small bells. We have no protocols for forced integration. It has never been necessary. Grand Vorthak Kess was quiet for a long moment, considering their options. Finally, he spoke. We will send the 47th Pacification Fleet to Earth. We will make a demonstration of our power. When the humans see what they face, they will reconsider their foolish decision. And if they do not, asked the Prime Crystal Soul, then we will do what is necessary to preserve order in the galaxy. 3 weeks later, Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of the flagship Absolute Order as the 47th Pacification Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. The fleet was impressive even by consortium standards. 200 capital ships, each one capable of destroying a planet's surface in hours. Admiral Yang was a Noimari who had undergone cybernetic enhancement to better serve the consortium. His gas-based form was contained within a mechanical suit that allowed him to interact with solid matter. His enhanced mind could process tactical information faster than any biological brain. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, we are detecting human ships throughout the system. They appear to be waiting for us. This was unexpected. Most primitive species would have fled or hidden when faced with such overwhelming force. Instead, the humans seem to have positioned their small fleet to intercept the consortium ships. How many vessels? Admiral Yang asked. Approximately 500, sir. But they are tiny compared to our ships. Most appear to be converted mining vessels and cargo haulers. Admiral Yang almost felt sorry for the humans. Their courage was admirable, but courage alone would not save them from the combined might of the consortium fleet. A communication request came from the human ships. Admiral Yang accepted it, expecting to receive their surrender. Instead, he saw the face of a human female wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. Behind her, other humans worked frantically at primitive control stations. I am Captain Min of the Terran Defense Fleet, the human said. You are entering our solar system with hostile intent. Turn back now or we will be forced to defend ourselves. Admiral Yang was amazed by the humans' audacity. "Captain Min, I am Admiral Yang of the Consortium 47th Pacification Fleet. You are outgunned 200 to 1. Surrender now and we will be merciful." "Admiral, our answer has not changed. Earth remains independent. If you wish to test our resolve, then come ahead." The communication ended abruptly. Admiral Yang stared at the dark screen for a moment, then turned to his tactical officer. "Begin the demonstration. Target their largest ships first. Show them what they face." The battle that followed would be remembered throughout the galaxy for generations. The humans did not fight like any species the Consortium had encountered before. They used tactics that were desperate, brilliant, and absolutely terrifying. Captain Min led her ship, the Soul's Pride, in a direct assault on the Consortium flagship. Her converted mining vessel was tiny compared to the massive warship, but it was fast and maneuverable. She used the ship's mining lasers to cut through the flagship's armor while dodging return fire. But it was not just individual bravery that shocked the Consortium forces. The humans fought as if they had nothing to lose. Ships that were damaged beyond repair would accelerate directly into Consortium vessels, using their own destruction as a weapon. Commander Sol, commanding the orbital defense platforms around Earth, coordinated a defense that should have been impossible. The primitive human weapons were no match for Consortium technology, but the humans used them in ways that defied all military logic. When Consortium ships moved to destroy Earth cities, human vessels would position themselves as shields, accepting certain death to protect their home world. When Admiral Yang tried to use the threat of planetary bombardment to force surrender, Commander Sol's response was broadcast across all frequencies. "Do your worst. We will rebuild. We will remember, and we will make you pay." The most shocking moment came when a group of human ships managed to board one of the Consortium cruisers. Admiral Yang watched in horror as the humans fought hand-to-hand combat in the ship's corridors. They were smaller and weaker than most alien species, but they fought with a ferocity that terrified even the warrior Krex. Captain Wu led the boarding party, using primitive weapons and explosives to fight their way to the ship's core. When cornered by superior forces instead of surrendering, the humans detonated their own explosives, destroying themselves and crippling the Consortium vessel. As the battle continued, Admiral Yang began to realize that something was terribly wrong. His fleet was supposed to be demonstrating overwhelming superiority. Instead, they were taking serious casualties from ships that should not have posed any threat. The humans were not just fighting desperately, they were fighting intelligently. Every attack was calculated to cause maximum damage while accepting terrible losses. They targeted weak points in Consortium ship designs that should have been unknown to them. They used coordinated tactics that suggested extensive military planning. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we have lost 37 ships. The humans are using weapons we did not detect in our initial scans." "What kind of weapons?" "Nuclear missiles, sir, but not launched from ships. They appear to be firing them from converted asteroids throughout the system." Admiral Yang felt a chill run through his mechanical systems. The humans had weaponized their entire solar system. While the Consortium had been preparing for a simple demonstration of force, the humans had been preparing for war. The turning point came when Fleet Admiral Bo, commanding from the human flagship Incheon, led a desperate assault on the Consortium's command ship. His small fleet of converted cargo vessels should have been destroyed immediately. Instead, they used the wreckage of destroyed ships as cover, advancing through the debris field while firing everything they had. When Admiral Yang demanded their surrender, Fleet Admiral Bo's response would be remembered across the galaxy. "Send more ships. We're not done yet." The battle ended when the Incheon rammed directly into the Absolute Order's bridge. Admiral Yang barely escaped in a life pod as his flagship was crippled by the human sacrifice. Around him, the proud 47th Pacification Fleet was in shambles. As the surviving Consortium ships limped away from Earth, Admiral Yang tried to understand what had happened. They had faced a primitive species with inferior technology. They should have won easily. Instead, they were retreating in defeat. The humans had not just fought back. They had won. In the days that followed, news of the battle spread through quantum communication networks across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds in 100 different languages, the impossible truth was whispered. The humans had made the Consortium flee. The emergency session of the Consortium Council lasted for 3 days. Grand Vorthak Kess had not slept since receiving Admiral Young's battle report. Around the chamber, the representatives of 12 species struggled to understand how their greatest military force had been defeated by primitive humans. 37 capital ships destroyed, Prime Crystal Soul repeated, its crystalline form pulsing with disbelief. The 47th Pacification Fleet was our finest military unit. How is this possible? War Leader Thek slammed his forearms against the table. The humans fight like demons. They use tactics that no civilized species would consider. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. They weaponize their own deaths. This cannot be allowed to continue, Counselor Vex said, his gaseous form swirling with anger. If other species learn that the consortium can be defeated, our entire civilization will collapse. Grand Vorthak Kess stood slowly. His ancient face showed the weight of his years for the first time in centuries. Honored counselors, we face the greatest threat to galactic order in 3,000 years. These humans have done more than resist us. They have proven that resistance is possible. Then what do you propose? Asked the Therian representative. Operation Final Integration, Kess announced. We will mobilize every available ship in consortium space. 5,000 vessels under unified command. We will not just defeat the humans. We will erase them completely. The chamber fell silent. 5,000 ships was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. It was enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds. Who will command such a force? Prime Crystal Soul asked. Supreme Commander June, Kess replied. The most advanced artificial intelligence in consortium space, with multiple biological forms to coordinate the assault. War Leader Thex nodded approvingly. June has never failed a mission. These humans will not escape a second time. But as the consortium prepared for war, they did not know that humanity had been equally busy. On Earth, Dr. Yu worked frantically in underground laboratories studying the wreckage of captured consortium ships. The alien technology was incredibly advanced, but humans had always been good at taking things apart and learning how they worked. The quantum drive systems are the key, Dr. Yu explained to General Wu as they stood in the secret research facility beneath Seoul. If we can reverse engineer their faster-than-light technology, we won't be trapped in our solar system anymore. General Wu studied the alien components with military eyes. How long do you need? 6 months, maybe less. We've already made breakthrough discoveries. The consortium uses permission-based quantum gates, but there might be other ways to achieve faster-than-light travel. Above them, massive construction projects were reshaping Earth's solar system. Asteroid mining facilities had been converted into weapons platforms. The moons of Jupiter were being hollowed out to serve as hidden bases. Mars had become a giant shipyard where humanity built its first interstellar vessels. Captain Rim stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the Busan's Vengeance. It was small compared to consortium vessels, but it incorporated both human engineering and captured alien technology. The ship was fast, nearly invisible to sensors, and armed with experimental weapons that no alien had ever seen. Captain, reported Lieutenant Kang from the navigation station, the stealth systems are functioning perfectly. Even our own sensors can barely detect us. Good, Rim replied. When the consortium returns, they'll find more than a few mining ships waiting for them. The news of humanity's victory had spread far beyond Earth. On distant worlds throughout consortium space, other species began to whisper about the impossible battle. Intelligence Officer On monitored alien communications from a hidden listening post, translating the conversations that revealed growing unrest. General Wu, On reported during a secure communication, we're detecting increased chatter on consortium networks. Multiple species are discussing the battle. Some are expressing interest in the concept of resistance. What kind of species? The Therians on the crystal mining world seem particularly agitated. The depth dwellers have gone silent, which according to our cultural studies usually means they're planning something. Even some Krex units are asking questions about human tactics. General Wu felt a spark of hope. The consortium rules through fear and the belief that resistance is impossible. We've shattered that belief. Now others might follow our example. As the weeks passed, humanity prepared for the inevitable return of consortium forces, but they also began planning something that would have seemed impossible just months before. If other species were willing to resist, perhaps humanity could help them. Colonel J led a team of volunteers in developing new combat techniques. They studied every piece of information about alien biology and psychology, learning how to fight enemies they had never seen. The humans were smaller and weaker than most galactic species, but they were learning to use intelligence and creativity to overcome physical disadvantages. Remember, Jay told his trainees, every alien species has weaknesses. The Vorthak are strong but slow. The Kreks are aggressive but predictable. The Zilani are brilliant but fragile. Study your enemy, find their weakness, and exploit it without mercy. When Supreme Commander June finally arrived at the edge of the human solar system, he brought with him the most massive fleet in galactic history, 5,000 ships of every size and class, armed with weapons capable of shattering planets. The world ship Absolute Authority served as his flagship, a vessel so large it had its own gravity and atmosphere. Jun himself was an artificial intelligence that existed in multiple forms simultaneously. His primary consciousness inhabited a crystalline matrix aboard the world ship, but he also controlled biological bodies throughout the fleet. Vorthak bodies for strength, Noimari forms for adaptability, Krek shapes for warfare. He was the perfect commander for the perfect fleet. All ships, this is Supreme Commander June. His voice echoed across 5,000 bridges. We will demonstrate the full power of the consortium. These humans will serve as an example to the entire galaxy of what happens to those who defy order. But as the fleet moved into the solar system, they found something unexpected. The humans were not cowering on their home world waiting for destruction. Instead, human ships appeared throughout the system, emerging from hiding places among asteroids and moons. Admiral Kim commanded the main human fleet from the flagship Gwangju Rising. The ship was a hybrid of human and alien technology, faster and more maneuverable than anything the consortium had seen before. All ships, Kim broadcast, remember what we're fighting for. Not just Earth, but the right of every species to choose their own destiny. The Second Battle of Sol began with humanity doing something the consortium had never encountered. They attacked first. Instead of waiting for the enemy to demonstrate their power, human ships struck at the outer edges of the consortium fleet. Captain Rim led the stealth attack, bringing the Busan's Vengeance and her sister ships out of hiding to assault consortium supply vessels. The human ships used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond. But the most shocking moment came when the humans deployed their secret weapon. Dr. Yu's research had produced more than just faster-than-light travel. They had also learned to weaponize stellar radiation itself. Initiating solar wind manipulation, reported Chief Engineer Park from the research station hidden inside Mercury's orbit. Magnetic field generators are online. What happened next would be studied by military strategists for centuries. The humans had learned to use their own star as a weapon. By manipulating the sun's magnetic field, they created a directed stream of solar wind that struck the consortium fleet like an invisible hammer. Hundreds of ships found their shields overloaded, and their systems failing as they were hit by radiation that should not have been possible to weaponize. Supreme Commander June watched in amazement as his perfect fleet was attacked by the very star it was orbiting. How are they doing this? June demanded from his multiple forms scattered throughout the fleet. Unknown, Supreme Commander, replied his tactical analysis systems. Human technology should not be capable of stellar manipulation. The battle raged for days. The humans deployed every weapon they could imagine. Ships filled with antimatter that exploded like miniature stars. Swarms of robotic fighters controlled by Earth's most advanced computers. Mining equipment converted into weapons that could drill through the strongest armor. Captain Wu led a desperate assault on the world ship itself, commanding a fleet of converted cargo vessels in a direct attack on Supreme Commander June's flagship. The massive ship should have been impossible to damage, but the humans had studied its design and found its weaknesses. Target the quantum core housing, Wu ordered as his ships dove toward the enormous vessel. If we can disrupt their primary power source, the whole ship will be crippled. The assault was suicide. Most of Wu's ships were destroyed before they reached their target, but enough survived to deliver their weapons into the heart of the world ship. The explosion that followed was visible from Earth itself. Supreme Commander June felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. His perfect body aboard the world ship was destroyed, forcing his consciousness to retreat to backup systems. The core nexus hung in space like a dying star, its ancient walls scarred by the greatest battle in galactic history. For 3,000 years, the massive station had been the heart of consortium power. Now it would be the place where that power finally died. Grand Admiral Juan stood on the bridge of the human flagship Unity's Dawn as the combined rebel fleet approached the station. Around him, ships from dozens of species flew together in formation. Therian crystal vessels sang with harmonic frequencies, while depth-dweller bioships pulsed with living light. Former Krex warriors piloted captured consortium cruisers alongside human hybrid vessels. All ships, this is Grand Admiral Juan, he broadcast to the massive fleet. Today we do not fight to conquer. We fight to free every being in this galaxy from the chains of fear and control. The response came from hundreds of ships in dozens of languages, but the meaning was universal. They were ready to finish what humanity had started. Inside the core nexus, Grand Vorthak Kess prepared for the final defense of his empire. The ancient ruler had lived for 8 centuries, watching his perfect civilization bring order to the galaxy. Now that order was crumbling around him. How many ships do we have left? He asked War Leader Thex, not knowing that his most trusted military commander had already switched sides. Perhaps 1,000 loyal vessels, Thex replied, his mandibles clicking with what Kess thought was anger, but was actually guilt. The humans and their allies number in the thousands. Then we will make our stand here, Kess decided. If the consortium falls, it will fall fighting. The battle for the core nexus began with Captain Young leading the first assault wave. Her cruiser Dagu's Hope was one of the newest human ships built entirely from reverse-engineered consortium technology. As she approached the station's massive defensive shields, Young knew her ship would not survive the attack. All hands, prepare for final approach, she announced to her crew. It has been an honor serving with you all. The Dagu's Hope accelerated directly into the station's shield generators, its sacrifice creating a gap in the defenses. Behind Young's ship, dozens of other vessels poured through the opening, each crew willing to die for the chance at freedom. Commander Yoon led the boarding parties that followed. Human Marines and alien rebels fought side by side through corridors that had never seen violence. The station's defenders were shocked by the cooperation between species that should have been enemies. Remember, Yoon told his mixed team of humans, Therians, and Krex, we are not here to destroy. We are here to free. Anyone who surrenders will be treated with respect. The fighting was brutal but brief. Consortium forces had been trained to maintain order, not to fight desperate beings who had nothing left to lose. Corridor by corridor, the rebels advanced toward the station's command center. Medical Officer SEO set up aid stations in captured sections, treating wounded fighters from both sides without discrimination. When an injured Vorthak soldier asked why she was helping him, her answer was simple. Because every life has value, even those who fight against freedom. The most important battle was not fought with weapons but with words. Fleet Commander Day, the same man who had first refused consortium integration years before, made his way to the station's central communication hub. From there, he could broadcast to every world in consortium space. People of the galaxy, Day began, his voice carrying across thousands of star systems. Today marks the end of 3,000 years of imposed order, but it also marks the beginning of something new, something better. Throughout the galaxy, beings gathered around communication devices to hear the human leader speak. On core worlds and frontier planets, in crystal mines and ocean depths, everyone listened as Day continued. The consortium told you that freedom leads to chaos and war. They were wrong. Look around you. Former enemies fight together. Different species cooperate without being forced. We have proven that beings can choose to work together without surrendering their independence. In the command center of the core nexus, Grand Vorthak Kess faced the inevitable end of his empire. The rebels had broken through every defense. Soon they would reach him, and 3 millennia of consortium rule would end. War Leader Thex entered the chamber, but instead of reporting on the defense, he removed his weapons and placed them on the floor. What are you doing? Kess demanded. Something I should have done years ago, Thex replied. I am choosing freedom over fear. You are betraying everything we built together. No, Thex said sadly. I am admitting that what we built was a prison, and I refuse to be a guard anymore. When Fleet Commander Day finally entered the command center, he found Grand Vorthak Kess sitting alone at the control console where he had ruled the galaxy for centuries. The ancient leader looked up at the human who had destroyed his empire. So you have won, Kess said. Will you execute me now? Day sat down across from the former ruler. Grand Vorthak Kess, you are not my enemy. You are a being who believed that order was more important than freedom. You were wrong, but being wrong is not a crime that deserves death. Then what happens to me, to all of us who serve the consortium? You have the same choice everyone else has, Day replied. You can join us in building something better, or you can retire to a peaceful world and live quietly. But you cannot continue to rule over others without their consent. Kess was quiet for a long moment. And if I choose to fight against this new order you are building, then you will be stopped but not executed. We do not build freedom by becoming the same kind of tyrants we fought against. The formal end of the consortium came not with a great ceremony, but with a simple announcement broadcast from the core nexus. Supreme Commander Jun, his artificial intelligence finally understanding that the war was lost, transmitted the surrender to all remaining loyal forces. All consortium vessels, this is Supreme Commander Jun. Effective immediately, all military operations are suspended. The consortium government formally dissolves. All beings are now free to choose their own governments and alliances. The silence that followed lasted exactly 17 seconds. Then, across the galaxy, celebrations began. On Therian worlds, crystal beings sang in harmony as they dismantled the mining quotas that had enslaved them for generations. In the deep oceans of depth-dweller planets, bioluminescent displays lit up the waters as entire civilizations celebrated their independence. Even on Vorthak Prime, the sounds of cheering could be heard as citizens realized they were free to govern themselves. But the real work began after the celebrations ended. President Hai, elected by the people of Earth in the first free elections in years, worked with Ambassador Chul to establish the framework for galactic cooperation without domination. The hardest part is not winning freedom. President Hai explained to the First Intergalactic Assembly on the former consortium capital world. The hardest part is keeping it. The assembly included representatives from over 200 species, each one chosen by their own people through whatever method they preferred. Some were elected, others were selected by councils. Still others were chosen by traditional methods that humans had never seen before. Ambassador Chul stood before the diverse gathering as the first Secretary General of the Galactic Federation. We are not here to create another empire, he announced. We are here to ensure that no empire can ever again enslave the galaxy. The Federation's charter was simple but revolutionary. Every species had the right to govern itself. No world could be forced to join any organization. Trade and cooperation were voluntary. Military force could only be used in self-defense. Most importantly, the Federation existed to prevent anyone from rebuilding something like the consortium. If any group tried to conquer multiple worlds, the combined forces of the free galaxy would stop them. Years later, children across the galaxy learned about the Great War in their schools. They studied the battles, the heroes, and the sacrifices that had been made for freedom. But the most important lesson was not about fighting. The most important lesson was about choice. On New Therian, young crystal beings learned that they could choose their own songs instead of singing work melodies imposed by others. In the depth-dweller cities, children discovered that they could explore any part of their vast oceans without permission from distant authorities. On human worlds, the young ones grew up knowing that their ancestors had fought not to rule the galaxy, but to free it. Captain Min, now an old woman teaching at the Terran Space Academy, often told her students about the day she had faced the first consortium fleet with nothing but converted mining ships and desperate courage. We did not win because we were stronger, she would say. We won because we remembered something the galaxy had forgotten. Every being has the right to say no. Every species has the right to choose its own path. And when enough people remember that truth, no force in the universe can stop them. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, disagreements, and problems to solve. But now they were the conflicts of free beings making free choices, not the imposed peace of slaves afraid to speak. Trade flowed between worlds based on mutual benefit rather than forced tribute. Art and music flourished as different species shared their cultures freely. Scientific discoveries advanced rapidly as researchers from dozens of worlds collaborated by choice rather than command. The Consortium Council Chamber had never seen panic before. For 3,000 years, the representatives of 12 species had met in calm discussion, managing their peaceful empire with wisdom and order. Now they sat in chaos as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. 17 systems in open rebellion, Prime Crystal Soul announced. its crystalline form flickering with distress. The Therians have seized 3 mining worlds. The depth dwellers have destroyed all communication stations in their sector. Even some Krex units have turned against their commanders. Grand Vorthak Kess felt older than his 800 years. How many ships do we have left to maintain order? War Leader Thex clicked his mandibles in frustration. After the losses at Earth, perhaps 3,000 vessels spread across 200 systems. We cannot be everywhere at once, and the humans, Counselor Vex asked, his gaseous form swirling with worry. Gone, Thex replied bitterly. Our sensors detect no human ships in their solar system. They have vanished. What the consortium did not know was that humanity had done the impossible. Dr. Yu's research had not only reverse-engineered consortium technology, but improved upon it. Human ships could now travel faster than light without using the consortium's quantum gate network. Captain Tay stood on the bridge of the Guangzhou's Fury as it dropped out of hyperspace above the Vorthak homeworld. The massive planet below had never been threatened by an enemy force. For 3 millennia, it had been the safe center of galactic civilization, broadcasting. On all frequencies, reported communications. Officer Han, every receiver on the planet should pick up our signal. The message was simple but shocking. Captain Tay's face appeared on screens across the Vorthak homeworld as he spoke directly to the billions of citizens below. People of Vorthak Prime, this is Captain Tay of the Terran Republic. You know us as the humans who defeated your fleets. We come not to conquer your world, but to deliver a message. The consortium tells you that resistance is impossible. We are here to prove them wrong. The single human ship hung in space above the most protected world in the galaxy for exactly 1 hour, broadcasting its message of defiance. Then it vanished back into hyperspace before the stunned planetary defenses could respond. Similar scenes played out across consortium space. Human ships appeared above core worlds, delivered their message, and disappeared. The psychological impact was devastating. If humans could reach the heart of consortium territory, nowhere was safe. Commander No led diplomatic missions to worlds where rebellion was already brewing. The small human ship Morningstar arrived at Therian Prime, just as the crystal workers were, fighting their consortium overseers. This is Commander No of the Terran Republic, she broadcast to the rebel Therians. We bring weapons, supplies, and knowledge. You are not alone in your fight for freedom. The Therians had never seen aliens who offered help without demanding submission in return. Their crystal forms rang like bells with excitement as they welcomed the human ship. Therian worker Singer Beck met Commander No in the crystal mines where the rebellion had begun. Why do you help us, human No? What do you gain from our freedom? Because freedom is not something that should belong to only one species, No replied. Because every being has the right to choose their own path. Because when one species breaks their chains, it makes it easier for others to break theirs. Meanwhile, Strike Commander Lee conducted precision raids on consortium supply lines throughout the Outer Rim. The human ship Dragon's Tooth moved like a ghost through enemy territory, striking military bases and supply convoys before vanishing into the darkness between stars. Target acquired, reported Tactical Officer Young as they approached a consortium weapons depot. Minimal defenses, maximum impact. The attack was swift and brutal. Human ships had learned to fight dirty, using tactics that horrified civilized alien minds. They targeted supply lines, communication networks, and command structures. Every raid left behind the same message. Resistance is not futile. On Earth, Intelligence Director Park coordinated the growing rebellion from a command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Screens showed the locations of uprisings across 100 worlds, while communication arrays maintained contact with human ships scattered throughout the galaxy. Status report. Park ordered as her staff updated the galactic situation map. Therian rebellion successful in 7 systems, reported analyst Cho. Depth Dweller insurgency has cut off 3 major trade routes, Krex desertion rate increasing daily. Even some Numari diplomatic stations have gone silent. And our ships? Performing beyond expectations. Captain Tay's psychological warfare campaign has consortium leadership paralyzed with fear. Commander No's diplomatic missions are turning potential allies into active rebels. Strike Commander Lee has disrupted supply lines across 2 sectors. Park studied the map with satisfaction. Red dots marked consortium loyalist worlds, but they were shrinking daily. Blue dots showed systems in rebellion, and they were spreading like wildfire across the galaxy. Liberation Fleet Admiral Sung commanded the largest human force ever assembled outside the solar system. 50 ships, all hybrid designs combining human innovation with captured alien technology, moved through hyperspace toward their target, the Consortium Military Academy at Rigel Base. "Remember," Admiral Sung addressed his fleet, "we are not here to destroy young soldiers. We are here to give them a choice. Many of these cadets have never heard the truth about what their consortium really is." The attack on Rigel Base shocked the galaxy. The consortium's primary military training facility had been considered impregnable. Instead, human forces captured it in less than 6 hours, but Admiral Sung did not execute the captured cadets or destroy the facility. Instead, he gathered the young aliens in the Academy's main hall and spoke to them directly. "Students of Rigel Base," he began, "you have been taught that the consortium brings peace and order to the galaxy. You have been told that all species benefit from consortium rule. I am here to show you the truth." What followed was 6 hours of recorded evidence from across the galaxy, video messages from enslaved species, testimony from rebels, and most importantly, footage of the battles at Earth showing how desperate beings would fight when given no choice but freedom or death. Many of the young cadets were shocked to learn what their civilization really was. Some remained loyal to the consortium, but others requested to join the human fleet when it departed. Admiral Sung accepted them all, because he understood that freedom meant the right to choose your own side. The most dramatic moment came when a young Vorthak cadet named Kai approached Admiral Sung. "Human Admiral, I have been taught all my life that the consortium brings peace. But if that peace requires slavery, is it really peace at all?" "That is a question each being must answer for themselves," Sung replied. "What do you choose?" "I choose to fight for a galaxy where every species can answer that question freely." As the rebellion spread, Supreme Commander Jun found himself fighting a war he could not understand. His advanced artificial intelligence could process millions of calculations per second, but he could not comprehend the concept of choosing death over submission. "Status report," Jun demanded from his new flagship, the Iron Order. 43 systems in open rebellion, his tactical officer reported. "Human ships have been detected in over 60 locations. They appear and disappear faster than we can respond. How is this possible? Our technology is superior. Our numbers are greater. Why are we losing?" Jun did not understand that he was fighting more than a military campaign. He was fighting an idea that was spreading faster than his ships could travel. Every human victory inspired more species to rebel. Every act of consortium brutality drove more beings to the human cause. The turning point came when the humans made their boldest move yet. Captain Yeon led a small fleet directly to the core nexus, the ancient station where the consortium had first been formed 3,000 years ago. "This is Captain Yeon of the Terran Republic," she broadcast to the heavily defended station. "We call upon all free beings in this system to witness our message to the Consortium Council." What followed was broadcast across the entire galaxy through hijacked communication networks. Captain Yeon stood on her bridge as she addressed not just the consortium leadership, but every being in known space for 3,000 years. "You have been told that the consortium brings peace through order. You have been told that freedom leads to chaos and war. We are here to offer you a different truth." Behind her, the view screen showed images from across the galaxy, Therians singing with joy as they worked their own crystal mines, depth dwellers building beautiful cities in their ocean depths, former Krek soldiers teaching young beings how to defend themselves without conquest. "Freedom does not mean chaos," Yeon continued. "Freedom means choice. The choice to succeed or fail on your own merits. The choice to cooperate because you want to, not because you are forced to. The choice to build something beautiful because it makes you happy, not because you are ordered to." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "The consortium offers you the peace of the grave. We offer you the chaos of life itself." The broadcast ended, but its impact rippled across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had never imagined alternatives to consortium rule began to dream of something different. Captain Huan adjusted his thick green scales and looked out at the endless stars through the viewing port of his ship. The Eternal Dominion moved silently through space, its massive hull cutting through the darkness like a knife. He had been a Vorthak officer for over 60 years, and in all that time he had never seen anything that surprised him. The galaxy was ordered, predictable, and under control. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Nara, floated beside him. Her crystalline body caught the light from nearby stars and scattered it into beautiful patterns on the walls. The Zilani were creatures of living crystal, and Nara's blue-white form hummed softly with inner energy. She had served with Juan for 20 years, and they made a good team. "Captain," she said, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We are approaching the target system. Long-range sensors show one inhabited planet, third from the star." Juan nodded and turned to face his bridge crew. Commander Yule stood at the tactical station, his insect-like form perfectly still. The Kreks were warriors by nature, but Yule had learned to control his aggressive instincts after joining the consortium. His forearms moved quickly over the controls as he gathered information about the unknown planet. "What do we know about these creatures?" Juan asked. Yule's mandibles clicked together as he spoke. "Initial scans show they call themselves humans. They appear to be carbon-based life forms, similar to many species we have encountered. They have developed space travel, but only within their own system. No signs of faster-than-light technology. Population: approximately 8 billion individuals spread across the planet's surface. They have divided themselves into numerous smaller groups with different languages and customs." Juan was not surprised. Most primitive species were like this before the consortium brought them order. The galaxy had been chaotic once, with thousands of different civilizations fighting endless wars. Then the consortium was formed, bringing peace and structure to every corner of known space. For 3,000 years, the consortium had ruled with wisdom and strength. The 12-member species each had their role to play. The Vorthak controlled the core worlds with their natural leadership abilities. The Zilani managed trade and commerce with their mathematical minds. The Nomari served as diplomats, their gas-based forms allowing them to survive in any environment. The Kreks provided military might when needed. Every species that joined the consortium found their proper place in the great order of things. Some became workers, others became soldiers, still others became administrators. Everyone had a role and everyone was content. "Prepare a standard integration package," Juan ordered. "We will make first contact and explain their options." Lieutenant Nara's crystalline form flickered with concern. "Captain, there is something unusual about these humans. Our deep scans show they have been monitoring galactic communications for several decades. They know we exist." This was interesting. Most primitive species were shocked to learn they were not alone in the universe. But if these humans already knew about other civilizations, first contact might be easier than usual. "Have they attempted to make contact with us?" Juan asked. "No, Captain. They appear to have been watching and preparing." Juan felt a small chill run down his spine, but he dismissed it. What could a primitive species possibly prepare that would matter to the consortium? Their technology was thousands of years behind even the most basic consortium member world. The Eternal Dominion entered the human solar system and moved toward the third planet. Earth, they called it. It was a beautiful world, blue and green with white clouds swirling over its surface. Scans showed vast oceans, great continents, and a diverse ecosystem. It would make a fine addition to the consortium. As they approached, human vessels appeared around them. Small ships, crude and ugly compared to consortium technology, but there were dozens of them. They formed a loose formation around the Eternal Dominion but did not attack. "They are requesting communication." "Captain," Commander Yule reported. "Open a channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of a human male. He appeared to be middle-aged by human standards, with dark hair and serious eyes. Behind him, other humans worked at primitive control stations. "I am Ambassador Day of the Terran Republic," the human said. His voice was calm and steady. "Welcome to our solar system. We have been expecting you." Juan stood and stepped forward so the human could see him clearly. His impressive height and muscular build usually had the desired effect on new species. "I am Captain Juan of the Galactic Consortium vessel Eternal Dominion. We come in peace to offer your species the opportunity to join our great civilization." Ambassador Day nodded politely. "We appreciate your offer, Captain Juan. However, before we discuss such matters, perhaps you would accept our invitation to visit Earth. We have prepared a reception for you and your crew." This was unusual. Most species either cowered in fear or immediately accepted consortium authority. These humans seemed almost casual about first contact with a vastly superior civilization. "That would be acceptable," Juan replied. "We will send a shuttle to your coordinates." An hour later, Juan found himself walking through a human city called Sol. The buildings were small and primitive, but the humans had arranged an impressive display of their culture. Music played from speakers, and the air was filled with the smell of cooking food. Thousands of humans lined the streets, watching the alien visitors with curiosity rather than fear. Ambassador Day walked beside them, pointing out various features of human civilization. Lieutenant Nara floated nearby, her crystalline form drawing amazed stares from human children. Commander Yule marched behind them, his tactical mind analyzing every detail for potential threats. "Your species seems remarkably calm about meeting aliens," Juan observed. Dai smiled. "We have known about your consortium for 40 years, Captain. Our radio telescopes detected your communications networks long ago. We have been studying your language and learning about your civilization." They entered a large building where hundreds of humans waited. Day led them to a raised platform where chairs had been arranged. As they sat down, Juan noticed that the humans were recording everything with their primitive cameras. "Captain Juan," Dai began, "we understand that you have come to invite Earth to join your consortium. We have studied your organization extensively, and we appreciate the order and stability you have brought to the galaxy." Juan felt pleased. This was going better than expected. "Yes, Ambassador Day. The consortium offers your species protection, technology, and a place in the galactic community. All we ask is that you accept our guidance and follow our laws. We have seen how your guidance works," Dee continued. "The Therians mine crystals for the Zilani. The Depth Dwellers provide food for the core worlds. The Void Runners transport goods between systems. Everyone has their assigned role." "Exactly. Order and efficiency benefit all species." Day was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and faced the alien captain directly. "Captain Juan, on behalf of humanity, I must respectfully decline your invitation. Earth will remain independent." The silence in the room was absolute. Juan stared at the human ambassador, unable to process what he had just heard. In 3,000 years of consortium history, no species had ever refused integration. The concept was unthinkable. I do not understand," Juan said slowly. "You are refusing to join the consortium?" "That is correct. But you are a primitive species. You have no faster-than-light travel, no quantum weapons, no stellar defenses. You cannot possibly survive alone in the galaxy." Day's expression did not change. "We will take our chances." Lieutenant Nara's crystalline form pulsed with confused energy. Commander Yule's mandibles clicked rapidly as his warrior instincts activated. They had never encountered anything like this. "Ambassador Day," Juan said, trying to remain calm. "Perhaps you do not understand the full situation. The consortium maintains peace across thousands of star systems. Without our protection, your species could face invasion, conquest, or extinction. Captain, we have studied your history carefully. Before the consortium, the galaxy was divided among many different civilizations. Some were peaceful, others were warlike. Some explored the stars, others stayed on their homeworlds. There was diversity, creativity, and yes, conflict. But there was also freedom." Juan felt his temper rising. "There was chaos, war, suffering. There was choice," Day replied quietly. The human ambassador gestured to the crowd around them. "Look at humanity, Captain. We are not unified like your member species. We speak thousands of languages, follow different beliefs, create different art and music. We argue, we fight, we disagree about almost everything. But that diversity is our strength, not our weakness. Your species fights among itself. That proves you need consortium guidance. Our species also creates beautiful music, writes amazing stories, and builds incredible machines. We explore because we are curious, not because we are ordered to. We help each other because we choose to, not because it is required." Day paused and looked directly into Juan's eyes. "Captain, we know what happens to species that join your consortium. They become efficient, they become peaceful, they become predictable, but they also become less than what they were." Juan stood up, his full height towering over the human. "You are making a grave mistake, Ambassador.